Video, I'm going to demonstrate to you how to use LexisLibrary. LexisLibrary has been updated from the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, so it has a slightly different look, but the main functions remain the same. So to be able to log into LexisLibrary, you need to click here on Use Academic Sign-In. From there, click Athens Sign-In. And then it will take you either to the LexisLibrary page straight away, or if you've already been logged in to your University of Buckingham account, it may bring you here, or the alternative is you may be using a new device, you've not logged into anything relating to your University of Buckingham account, and you might be asked to fill in your University of Buckingham email and the password that you have associated with that account. In most cases, you'll probably be brought immediately to the LexisLibrary page. So this is the new homepage for LexisLibrary. The key thing that we're going to look out for is this search panel in the middle of the screen. And we're going to make use of this drop-down menu here too to be able to narrow our searches. So to start off with, we will have a quick look at searching for cases. So I'm going to select cases in the drop-down menu, and then I'm going to type in Donoghue and Stevenson, and I'm going to click on Donoghue and Stevenson as suggested and see where it brings us. So we have a number of results, as you can see. I'm actually going to go for this second one here because this is the Donoghue and Stevenson case that I know I'm looking for. Now, you have various options given here. So we can look for a case overview, or we can go immediately to the judgment by using the citation number. I'm going to click on the overview just to make sure that this is definitely the result I'm looking for. Here I can look at the digest. So we have a case in relation to the snail in the ginger beer. I know this is the case that I'm looking for, so I'm happy with that overview. From there, I can actually use the hyperlink still attached to those citation numbers, and I can go to this law report and I can read the case. Now, what I'm going to do, just to show you how the function works, is I'm just going to copy this citation number, and then I'm going to go back to the main page by just clicking on the LexisLibrary logo. I'm going to go back to narrowing my search to cases, and I'm going to paste the citation number. So when I search here, you'll see that although I didn't put the case name, by using the citation number, it brings me back to the same case. So what that means is if you're looking for a case, depending on the information that you've been given, you can search by case name, citation number. You may also choose just to search by key terms as well. So let's go back to the main screen. We've had a look at cases, but here we can also look at books and journals, for example. So you'll see in my search history that I've actually already looked for some journal articles before relating to the identification principle in corporate criminal law. But you'll see that where I've done this, if I just click back here, I've done so with double quotation marks on either side. The reason I've done that is that when I use double quotation marks for this phrase, and it's a phrase because it's referring to more than one word, it will search for any result that has that phrase in its entirety. So rather than looking for results that have the word identification principle, but also, the word identification, but also the word principle in its results, it will look for results that have identification principle as a phrase, so where those words are together. So I've put that in double quotation marks, and then I will press search. On the left-hand side, you'll notice that there is further opportunity to restrict our search. Now, here I don't want to look for books. I would like to restrict it to journals. And so I just click journals there and I can go through that way. Now, looking for journal articles is really important in your legal research, because the journal articles will go through a process of academic peer review. So in order to substantiate the arguments, the comments that you're making with that, that foundation, you need to be looking for this kind of scholarly work. We have a few results here that we can look through. Now, I'm quite interested in this one. It's relatively recent at the time of recording, and this is a project that I am particularly interested in. So here we can see that actually, because I searched by phrase identification principle, it highlights it for me in throughout the document. So this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Now, I can actually go further than reading this on the database. There are various options supplied here at the top panel. So I can simply get a link to the page. I can add it to a folder, and then you use this, this bar at the top, folders, where I can actually separate my research into different folders. So I could have a company law folder, I could have a tort law folder, I can have a contract law folder, and so on. Or you can actually go further than that. So tort law, I could have a folder. Then I could have a subfolder for negligence, a subfolder for nuisance, and so on. So it's really helpful for organizing your research. I can print if I'm connected to a printer, email, download, or I can extract references. So download is one of the most important and useful tools. You're going to be given various options here, so you can change the file name if you want to. You can choose to download it as a PDF or a Word document. PDF is useful if, for example, you know you're going to print it straight away, or you want to annotate it just as that complete document. Word is very useful, however, if you're going to want to use the read aloud function in Word to have the software read the case back to you. And so they each have their own purposes. You can choose your favorite font. So some people find that Times New Roman, although it looks really smart, can be quite difficult on the eye to read, particularly for a sustained period of time. So you might find that Arial is better for your reading needs. You can also change the font size. You can change the spacing between each line. So for example, when I was saying that you might print it so you can annotate it, if you add spaces between each line, so if you double space, that will leave the most amount of space between each line, then you might be able to add comments between each sentence. And then I can actually go through and highlight those search terms that I looked for. So remember, I found this article by searching for identification principle. When I print it or when I download it, I can actually make sure that those search terms are still highlighted. And you have various options here as well. So when you're downloading, you can do it including footnotes. I would suggest that you do download including footnotes, because if you're going to later make reference to this article in your work, you may actually need to refer to the footnotes that have been used in the document as well, particularly if you end up quoting an area of this particular journal article. So let's say you quote one passage, but within that passage, the author of that article has actually quoted someone else in doing so. So you're going to need to give credit to that too. So this is our journal article. We can go back to the beginning on the main screen, and we can look for other areas as well. So for example, you can look for legislation here. I know a lot of people like to use legislation.gov.uk, but you can also access legislation using Lexis and Westlaw, for example. So I'm going to search for the Companies Act 2006, and I'll search here. Now, let's see this first result. Okay, so we have our result, and what's useful here is that it's all hyperlinked. So, for example, if I scroll down, can have a look at various different areas. Companies Act is a vast act, as those of you who have studied company law will know. I'm interested in looking at the general duties of directors. So here I can actually click and be navigated to section 172 on the duty to promote the success of the company. And here it will bring me. And important to mention, you have the same options as you did when I showed you the journal articles. So you can filter it all into a folder if you want to, rather than saving the Companies Act in its entirety. You might just save the relevant provisions that you're looking at in your research project, for example. So you have those options here. If I just show you, if I highlight some text, I'm also given an option here to annotate it within the database, to highlight, and you can change the highlight colors. You can copy. Here you can add an extract to folder. So this is nice because if you add various documents to your folders, it will retain your annotations and highlighting too. So we go back to the main screen. You can also go to the advanced search function, which is going to allow you to be a bit more restrictive in your search. Okay, so you can select the type of document that you're looking for, and then you can be very particular about the type of terms, phrases that you want to look for. You can exclude certain terms. So if, let's say you're looking for the case of Donahue and Stevenson, or you're looking for a case called Donahue and Stevenson, but it's not the case of Donahue and Stevenson that relates to the snail in the ginger beer, that really famous landmark case. You can exclude certain terms, so it will exclude all the documents that relate to snail and ginger beer, and that might help you just condense the search for you to find that different Donahue and Stevenson case. So do have an explore, make use of the database, make use of its annotation features, the folders, and so on. If you have any further questions on using the Lexis database, do not hesitate to ask your librarian, and they'll be happy to show you the database in some more detail.